Greetings. Good afternoon, everyone. I am coming to you this afternoon on a Thursday for the Thursday Nuggets with Butterfly Love Academy, and wanted to just check in first. First look at how are we doing with our quarter 3 and rescripting our intentions and how it is we at the halfway mark of the calendar, like what are our skills, our intentions, where are we on the goals that we put forth for first quarter, then second quarter, and now we are entering, today is the first day of the third quarter. So one of the things as a leader and a business voice and community is that it's always a good measuring point to kind of look at how you are doing, like a report card, if you will. And you set intentions on goals to do in each quarter or in different parts of the year. And so when a new quarter is starting, it's like, okay, let me see, what did I accomplish? What could I have done differently? What are some of the gains that I was able to grab? And where am I going? Like we in the halfway mark of the year, so that means we have 6 months left to closing the gap and closing in on what it is that we could do differently, better, more effectively, and so forth. So it's like, where are you in that mark? And I just wanted to start today's conversation off with checking in on how you rescript your intentions in regards to how your quarters before this have served you, but then also in how you intend to do the balance of this particular calendar year. So it's like in looking at, where it was, maybe, the world is starting to open up again, what opportunities are available to you and how it is that you show up. And you want to make sure that you are prepared and capacity wise for whatever it is that you do, how it is that you serve as a leader, but then how it is that you show up for yourself. And are you doing everything that when you look at the end of this quarter and look back on what your successes have been, that you're able to measure between the small marks that you met as well as those big stretch marks that you made as well. So it's like you want to be able to give yourself a hand clap and celebrate every single moment as they have occurred and give yourself grace, because a failure is not a failure. Like, we don't even want to subscribe to what that even thinks about, what it looks like, what it feels like. Because if you didn't step out and try whatever that new thing is, then you wouldn't have learned some of the things that you can now put in as strategies or strengths or things that you gained and learned about yourself, as well as the product that you provide moving forward. So it's not a failure. It's actually a wonderful gift that you gave to yourself by trusting you and putting your first foot forward and being able to kind of strategize and say, look, we did this. Now this is how we got to do a little bit different. Maybe you need more, maybe office space or strategy of how you use your time. Maybe you need more team members. It could be a whole bunch of different stuff. But whatever it is for you, just take the time to put yourself in ink on your own calendar and begin to give yourself that space so that you can prepare accordingly and ensure that as you close out the next quarter that you do it successfully. And sometimes it just takes probably having, like a call with another person in business that's in the growth stages, or someone who's in business that is at the level that you strive to be, so that they could do a comparison analysis of where it is that you may have some open holes that you can't see because you're striving to get to where they are. And they've already done, that pattern. So it's like you might need their wisdom and their faith and their gifts that they have to help you get to that next level. So having a strategy of a person who's already in the place of leadership or in the place of growth that you desire to be, where they can kind of guide you, give you that GPS that you're looking for, and supporting you on your fast forward pacing. So I just wanted to start our conversation today with just, rescripting your intentions and making sure that you have a moment to like kind of put it all together. And so a lot of people are familiar with me as Butterfly Love. And what I have started is Butterfly Love Academy, which is the business side of services that I have always done, or I shouldn't say always, but I have done since 2009. And now putting it more into practice and into activity in regards to how people can show up in their workspace. So as a transformational leadership coach, of course, me and my butterfly, we evolve one conversation at a time. I create opportunities for you to expand, removing yourself away from the obstacles that may have blocked you before, and being able to get the clarity on how it is that you can move forward with the professional development that you need, accountability, and getting that performance increase. And that performance increase can be through payment. It can also be through promotion, which usually is payment, but then it also could be you stepping out and doing what your true natural work is that you're interested in doing, that may be separate from your W-2 life. And so guiding you through that navigation of how it actually lands for you is something that could be very interesting. It could be very scary, but it could be like little bits and pieces that, again, someone who has already done, and I say again, just because I just shared it with the quarter, review, that you can be able to see yourself with someone who has already taken those strategy steps and began to move in a direction that you intend, even if your spaces are different. They can give you that GPS support to kind of gain clarity and moving forward. And if you think that I can support you in that, feel free. I do have consultations that you can get your clarity sessions at no cost to yourself, but it's good to know, exactly what your opportunities are out there. So for today's conversation, as I shared every Thursday, planning to give some basic business nuggets as you evolve and that you are living in the spaces and being a leader of some sort. And leader is not necessarily that someone else has identified you as the leader, but that you recognize that your voice matters and that your contribution to the conversation, to the commitment, to whatever is going on has significance in regards to how it is that you do your work and how you do your work at the best way possible. And so the thing that I wanted to touch on today, just because I see it popping up in a lot of different conversations, and sometimes I've experienced it when I'm doing leadership or diversity, equity, and inclusion spaces of like professional development, where the word or the terminology of code switching comes up. And a lot of times what happens is people who feel that they don't know what code switching is because they're not adjacent to having to do something, different to accommodate the workspaces that they're in. And if you don't have to accommodate the workspaces that you exist in, then you might not be familiar that code switching is actually occurring, or that you may have influence over how code switching is necessary in the workspace of which you work in on a day-to-day basis. So I wanted to just come today to have a conversation, just really briefly, around explaining the elements of what code switching looks like for a person of melanated culture. And so when you think about like trying to define and put like a frame around code switching is like mental gymnastics that individuals do and engage in when they're in the workspace, but to kind of appease counterparts who are of opposite melanated cultures in a professional setting. And so it's like the mental gymnastics from the time you wake up to what you're going to wear that day, how you're going to style your hair, but then also when you're in general conversations or in general workspaces, how it is that you will speak to individuals, how your gestures will be monitored, how you will engage in conversations that you may or may not be interested in. However, you participate in them because they're important in order to show camaraderie or team making ability or communication styles. And it might be a process of, you need to have these conversations in order to move from one stage of the puzzle of the scope of work that you do to the next. And so in that capacity, the mental gymnastics can be very, very exhausting. For an individual who is of African American descent that may wear locks or may wear braids or may wear that their personality is within the clothing that they wear. It could be the colors, it could be just a variety of different ways of how African Americans are expressive. And then sometimes it could be very maybe, I don't want to use the word judgmental, but it can also show up in the way and how our bodies are shaped and how clothes lay on our bodies differently than they do other body structures. So it's like we're always trying to like kind of code switch, or we're being exhausted by trying to put the puzzle pieces on how it is that we match in certain environments. And that mental gymnastics sometimes makes it very, very challenging in regards to how it is that we exist in a workplace, because we have to switch between who our true self is to kind of be a version that will make coworkers and those people around us very comfortable or not feel intimidated in any particular way, and being able to show up, and just do whatever our skill is, because we're there to do the job. So all of this other stuff becomes a distraction. But casual conversations come up. And so with the casual conversations and how it is that they come up, how they show up, how they, impact our day to day, a person who is represented as African American is oftentimes asked different questions or things or content that makes them have to step aside. Again, not being able to be authentically who they are in their true sense of self, and having to downplay certain memberships of like, or how it is that they identify in their racial identity, avoiding stereotypical type behaviors like, talking with their hands or moving their neck, or, just those things that make them feel comfortable. They're not trying to be intimidating or put off any other energy towards someone. But if you don't understand that, then it becomes, a different conversation, and it creates the space to also function in a different way. And so when a coworker who is adjacent to us feels that we're incapable of a situation, then they'll use those characteristics that they actually appreciate in some situations, but then they'll use them to their benefit to kind of say is a reason why we and I say we as I do represent as an African American professional, that because of our color of skin or cultural background or the schools that we've attended or the things that we enjoy or the types of foods that we eat make us stand up in a certain way in different situations. So it's like you have to be mindful. Different things that you may ask that you think are just an aside or something that's very casual, you may actually be causing some uncomfortability for your teammate. And it's like, it's better to kind of learn and ask questions about how a person identifies, how the foods that they enjoy, becomes important to them. But then, the things that they enjoy outside of work, or the things that they may have in their, workspace, why it symbolizes what it symbolizes for them, what makes it important. The thing that is often taken for granted is that code switching is not anything new. So although there is a rise in talking about workspaces being more culturally sensitive and culturally responsive, and using humility and how it is that we interact as a result to some recent events that we've kind of like, had things put like front and center. Code switching has kind of been in the forefront for a very long time. And by it being in the forefront for such a very long time, it becomes like a natural reaction or a natural situation where individuals end up just kind of doing stuff and not even realizing that they're functioning from something that they've been taught from earlier elders and ancestors in their family, and that has really enacted in our culture as African Americans, as Black people, since and probably even before our days of slavery. And it becomes a survival narrative or survival strategy that has been taught that it's a matter of life or death, especially when you equate it to, back as far as slavery times. But it is a matter in the current time. Do you keep your job or do you not keep your job? Will you get that promotion, or will you be considered for a leadership role, or will you not, because of how it is that you represent, how it is that you show up, from the exterior to your tone of voice to your body gestures? Are you welcoming? Do you have a gift of being able to shift gears and work within any circumstances? And how is it that you accommodate your tone, and how it is that you greet those individuals who are identified as the important people? So it's like you choose to engage in conversations that may not serve you well or be of interest to you. However, at the end of the day, because you're in this workspace, you value the work that you do, you have the skills and the permission already to be there. You don't have to kind of validate yourself again. However, there are things and conversations that put us in the place of feeling that we do. And because it is that way, we begin to negotiate and take ourselves out of our true authentic selves and seek to do things, say stuff, engage in different activities so that we can remain likable, which remains to continue to position us to either have a promotion or to engage in this leadership team, just a variety of different things. So it's like it becomes a matter, when we say survival, you're choosing how it is that you want to play and engage in that situation. And that becomes very, very critical and important, but it is very, very exhausting to the brain, and trying to make sure that everything that you do is, you're crossing your T's, you're dotting your I's. You hear people saying that. All of that is because of the mental gymnastics that they're engaging in, trying to manage and make sure that you blend in and being less noticeable, because your cultural attributes of who you are naturally sometimes become distracting, although individuals may be very, 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 very intrigued by different qualities that you have as a person overall. And so you just want to be mindful of that. And so I wanted to just kind of give a quick picture in regards to what code switching is, what it looks like, what the activity of it is like. As soon as we wake up in the morning, we're already on go, and we're already in the place of, how am I going to show up today? And who do I need to meet with today? Because that changes. Like if I have to meet with a funder, then I need to dress differently so that I can make sure that my attire, that sometimes people can refer to as the 9-to-5 costume or the W-2 costume, that I show up in a way and in a manner that causes an individual who is considering, if I am the person to receive the contract, if I'm the person to receive the funding, whatever, if I have met the criteria of the exterior before they even look at the content of what it is that I have to present. So it's like, those are some of the mental gymnastics in regards to just a day-to-day challenge that we go through. in a survival strategy of just trying to exist in a diverse and equitable workspace. But code switching is very, very real. And it's not something that is made up in our mind. They are real experiences that we tend to, have. That is very, very exhausting, trying to make sure you have the right puzzle piece, the right strategy, the right words, the right body language, the right outfit. Like, that's a lot. When you see your counterparts don't necessarily have to go through that much in order to show up and in order to have success in the different things that they're striving to do in their promotions and being a leader and taking the lead on different projects or securing that contract or securing the funding. Whatever your conversation is, we're all leaders in our own space and in our own things that we do. We don't need to be assigned that role. You've been given that role as your natural gifts that you bring to a conversation. So if you are working with individuals who identify as a minority in your workspace and you want to kind of understand if there are things that are adjacent or things that you may be doing or saying that's causing some discomfort in your work situation, you might need to think about, are you really embracing the whole person, from the boardroom to their education, to their skill set, to their personality, to like the gifts that they bring to the entire environment? Or are you, because you don't understand something, are you second guessing and challenging them in a different way that, makes it where it's just really a stressful, situation? So, one of the things I wanted to share, other than that, if you are this person in the workspace and you really struggle with this whole code switching situation and trying to figure out balance while you're also trying to excel as a leader and get your promotion, get the professional development, that there's a couple things, I guess, at Butterfly Love that is available, to kind of help and support you. And one of the things is that there is a conference that's coming up at the end of August. It's a telesummit, so it's virtual, and it's entitled Leadership, Gender, and Racism. But it is a virtual professional experience to kind of develop how you deal with life interruptions, and how it is that you manage when being read wrong or not understood in the workspaces that you're in, but you have all of the qualifications that it take for you to excel as that leader in that space. So in thinking about, how different life interruptions, it's a 3-day telesummit where the first day is looking at where did you learn or how have you learned and existed as a leader from your earlier years, and who was influential in doing such. So who are you at? Do you love you? Well, before you love you, do you like yourself? And then on the second day, talking about the different various life interruptions that kind of naturally just happen, but they end up informing you to kind of react, sustain, and do things, kind of just uniquely. The thing is that sometimes when we have various life experiences, we believe that they'll just go away. And they don't really matter because you've gotten all this schooling, all of these certificates, all of this, everything, and that the world is eventually going to come around and see everything that you have to offer. And in recognizing everything that you have to offer, you need to ensure, or it will be beneficial for you to ensure how you show up in the workplace, and that you deal with anything that could be an interruption that builds you up in the strength of your skill set as a leader, as the voice in the work that you do. But if you don't deal with them, then they show up, and this is what we talk about on the third day, they show up in your leadership role, and they can either propel you to move forward, or it can push you, into a different space. So it's like you want to ensure that you have your full toolkit all together. So the 3-day summit is a workbook that's also coming. But then if you are interested in the 12-week, coaching program, you can start it before the summit or after the summit. But there's more information about the event, the 3-day telesummit, Leadership, Gender, and Racism, that gives you a professional experience, but then also recognizing some of those life interruptions that happen. That, again, we started the conversation talking about quarter goals, but then we talked a little bit about code switching. Code switching would be a part of the conversation that we would cover in our 3 days together. But then other situations where code switching kind of shows up as well, and being diverse and intricate in your spaces. But making sure that when you're in the boardroom, securing that bag, securing that contract, securing your next level of where you're trying to promote yourself to and being elevated, that you don't have any unresolved baggage that's blocking you from doing what it is you need to do. And recognizing that if you are still functioning from a survival narrative that is unaddressed in any particular way, that it will show up adversely in your role as a leader, and you'll be like, okay, where is this coming from? It's coming from the nuggets of life that have occurred as interruptions where you may or may not have dealt with them before. So for more information about the summit and how it is that you can participate and join us in that 3-day conversation, feel free to visit my website, butterflylovellc.com/events, and it'll take you right to the event page where you can see more information about that summit and more. And we'll look forward to, serving you at the highest level there. And then, also, if you want to just schedule just to kind of see, again, it's no obligation to have a clarity phone call, clarity, experience with myself or anybody on my team, to just ensure, are you really working in the right space? Do you know what some of your blind spots are? And do you need would you benefit from clarifying the GPS of your professional life and being able to put yourself on the right path? So again, you can feel free to reach out at workwithmarymay.com. I'm trying to find my little thing. workwithmarymay.com, where you will find the button right below the video of being able to get on my calendar. And there's a couple times that's available this week where you can ensure that your space is secure and you have the best 45 minutes to gain clarity and kind of probably remove some of the obstacles and see what you would like to do next. If there's anything, that you would like to do next in regards to working with someone that does transformational leadership coaching. So I look forward to serving you. And again, I'm usually on Thursdays around this time, anytime between 12 and 1, coming in to have conversations with you around a variety of different things that influence and impact us as leaders as we kind of evolve and move out of our own way so that we can become successful in the spaces that we desire. So if you catch us on the replay, you catch us live, feel free to drop any comments, questions, or things that you would like to know about how you can set your quarter goals and be on the mark for this second half of the year. How it is that you can live and function outside of it being a survival conversation in your code switching ability, so that you can also, again, have that performance increase, promotion, and doing the best work that's utilizing your skills, your gifts, and your talents that are naturally poured into you in the absence of a stressful and judgmental workspace. And then if it speaks to you, you're like, okay, I think I need to dig in a little bit more, feel free to join us for the 3-day telesummit at the end of August 26th to the 28th. And we'll have that 3-day experience, again, pouring into you as an individual, but then also exploring opportunities that eliminate the obstacles that prevent you from getting the promotion that you so desire. So until then, feel free to reach out, and I'll see you between other lives and other conversations and engagement. And I'll see you next week. Take care. Be safe.